Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Tricky Takes podcast. And also, this week we're doing a little segment as well for the YouTube channel on Box Score. So we will be there as well. So shout out if y'all are catching us there on the YouTube. But going in, we're just jumping straight in. The World Series starts this week, and it is between two juggernaut teams here. We got the Yankees and the Dodgers, absolute star-studded lineups, both sides of the ball. Not the matchup that I think any of us were rooting for when these playoffs started, but it is kind of a not unexpected result here. Austin, what are your just early thoughts? I know you were looking at some of the pitching stuff.
Yeah, I think this is a really exciting World Series because of the history of these two teams. I believe this is the most common or most frequent, I guess, to happen World Series are between these two teams that goes back to their history when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn, in the city of New York. So a long history between these two teams. They actually haven't met in the World Series since the 80s, so it's been a long time. I'm pretty excited for it considering, these are two teams that I genuinely or generally don't root for, but uh so I'm not gonna have a dog in the fight. I'm just gonna be watching all the games, hoping for it to go to game seven and be as much fun as possible. There's a lot of stars in this, so this could be, one of those all-time great postseason and World Series that we've ever seen.
Yeah, there's really only one star on either side that I don't really care for, and that would be Garrett Cole. So, I mean, this is a rare occurrence for the Dodgers and Yankees to have so many, I feel like, likable stars in the game right now. So, definitely adds to the overall flair of the World Series. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. But let's kind of go down like we have for the last couple of series that we've broken down and do our position by position matchups here. So, starting off, as we always do, at catcher with Will Smith and Austin Wells for the Dodgers and Yankees, respectively. So, Will Smith, a lot of postseason games. I think he's second most since he came into the league. And then Wells, who is a bit newer to it. So,
Yeah, the advantage is to Will Smith simply for the experience, although he's hitting 158 with a 605 OPS this postseason. So not doing too great this season, and Austin Wells somehow managing to do worse, hitting not just below the Mendoza line, below half the Mendoza line. I don't think there's a name
Love
for hitting below 100.
the Purdue line.
That's a that's a good. Um, yeah, he's hitting 091 this postseason, so not great from him either.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Wells kind of hangs his hat on the defensive side of things. When you look at, where his strong points are. And, that is a very important role that the catcher has. But I think Will Smith has the postseason experience to be able to, kind of handle this pitching staff and the bullpen, especially that's been so pivotal for the Dodgers so far this postseason. Um, and Will Smith isn't a slouch behind the plate either. So I would give the advantage to Smith here.
yeah, I've also got to lean Will Smith. Looking at his batting stats, I was a little surprised. It felt like he'd been a bit hotter of a hitter in this postseason, but I think it was just some of those home runs that he hit in pivotal moments. So that might have clouded my judgment, but it is obviously Will Smith going in and getting the edge for the Dodgers. Moving on, first base. We've got two guys that are a little bit banged up. So we've got Freddie Freeman for the Dodgers and Anthony Rizzo for the Yankees. So Freeman has been playing with a bum ankle, which has led to him not having any extra base hits throughout the postseason so far. And then Rizzo missed the first two series or the first series that the Yankees played in because of a fracture in his hand, I believe. So neither of the players are at full. I think I do lean Freeman myself here. He's been getting better. He's had a bit longer to kind of heal that ankle. and it seems like Rizzo hadn't fully gotten around, even though 14 at bats, 6 hits for a 429 average. The Dodgers pitching is a much better unit than what the Guardians have to go against for him. So I do think I'll still have to lean Freeman, even though he is only hitting 219 right now.
I'm gonna go Rizzo. He's hot right now. I think that's what matters. And the Dodgers do a couple things really well pitching wise. They do a couple things not so well, and we'll talk about that more when we get to the pitching side of things. But I think Rizzo has some pretty good matchups here, and I think he's gonna have a good series for the Yankees.
Yeah, it's a tough position to pick right now with both of these guys banged up. Obviously, both 100%. I'm taking Freddie Freeman, whether he would be struggling or not. Um, you know, right now, I think I would have to give the slight edge to Rizzo just because I feel like he is more healthy right now and he's making more of an impact at the plate. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I think that, he can carry that over to the World Series. He, played well in the CS. So I think that, that momentum and that confidence he kind of built coming back from those finger injuries can help him, carry that on in the World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. So now going to second base, they do have a little bit of a platoon there that they've been rocking with in Los Angeles. They've been playing Gavin Lux and Chris Taylor. For the sake of this, we are going to mainly focus on Gavin Lux. He's played, I feel like, the majority of the games as second so far. And then obviously the Yankees have Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres, we've kind of talked about, much more of a defensive guy out there for the Yankees. But again, he has had a pretty solid postseason, a 297, 400, 432 slash line, uh, 5 RBIs. So he's definitely making it count at the plate. And then Lux, like I said, 208, 259, and 333. Not quite as strong of a defensive glove, which is why he kind of rotates in and out over there, which does lean me to go with Gleyber Torres.
Uh, there's a good chance we see 4 or 5 different players play second base for the Dodgers in this series. Like it could be Miggy Rojas could somehow end up over there. Mookie Betts could somehow end up over there. Those are the two less likely scenarios, but it's possible. And then we got to count Gavin Lux, Kike Hernandez, Max Muncy, and Chris Taylor as like actually like a good chance they play. So that's 6 guys potentially who could be playing second base. Likely at least 3 of them, if not 4, though. So I think that kind of rotation just kind of automatically dings them for me. If Mookie Betts ends up there, which I don't think will happen, but that I guess that would turn the table. But other than that, I'm going Yankees and Glaber.
Yeah, as the saying goes in football, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. If you have six second basemen, maybe you don't have, one really true second baseman. But Gavin Lux isn't, a bad player by any means. I would just be much more comfortable with Glaber in my lineup. He's leading off for the Yankees right now, getting on base a ton, and that's been huge, especially, just getting guys on base for Judge, Soto, Rizzo, those guys behind him, and plays good defense. So I would definitely be a lot more comfortable with Glaber in my lineup, and I would give him the advantage over a number of second basemen that the Dodgers can put out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on at shortstop. So Tommy Edman has been playing some short, but he will most likely be back out in the outfield. It seems like Miggy Rojas will be back. Uh, Coming off kind of cold right now, obviously not getting very many at bats in the postseason versus Volpe, who's been an outstanding defensive shortstop. That is a key defensive position there. It's one that we always harp on. And he's kind of hot right now. He's 310, 459 at the moment hitting. I think Miggy coming off the injury and potentially, like Austin said, moving around, playing some second, having other guys in there at shortstop, which seems to be the case for the middle infield just as a whole right now. I think you do have to lean Verdugo, or not Verdugo, Volpe right now.
I don't know, man. If Tommy Edman plays shortstop, he's hot right now. I mean, uh, MVP of the CS, and there's a good chance they leave him in to get a lot of the innings. So that does scare me off a little bit, but I think this is more of a flash in the pan. I don't know if we see him stay hot, especially against the better pitching. I mean, the Yankees pitching rotation is much better than the Mets, especially at the top end. So I think it's a very, very slight lean to Volpe for me, but it's close, especially if, or only considering if Tommy Edman is taking a good chunk of reps at short.
Yeah, Tommy Edman definitely makes this a interesting discussion. And I agree with your point, Austin, about the Yankees rotation, bullpen wise, starting rotation, just kind of being a step ahead of where the Mets were at this point. It's going to be critical that Tommy Edman could, maintain his performance against, top tier pitching that the Yankees have. Um, so since, it's kind of just a wait and see approach with where they go with the position. I'll give the edge to Volpe right now. He's been playing well. Um, so yeah, I think that uh, give him the edge here.
All right. Going now to third base, Max Muncy and Jazz Chisholm. So Max really hot right now. Heavily talked about how he had that 11 plate appearance on base streak, and then Jazz has definitely been consistent for the Yankees. Like we've kind of mentioned, they haven't had a lot of consistency in their infield, but also he's had a really rough time at the plate this entire postseason. He's only hitting 147 right now, and not really shown anything to me this entire postseason that is going to turn anything around. I'd easily lean Max Muncy here, I believe.
Yeah, it's pretty easily Max Muncy. He's been here before. He's got that sweet wing. I think he'll enjoy his time playing games in Yankee Stadium as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I lean Max Muncy here. I mean, Jazz got hot right after that he got to the Yankees, but overall he's been, pretty average this season as a hitter. Um, so yeah, I think Max Muncy, Kike, Tommy Edman, whoever they put here, I would be, you know, comfortable taking them over what the Yankees can provide at third.
All right, left field now we got Oscar Hernandez and Alex Verdugo. So this one's very easy. It is Teoscar. We don't really have to discuss it very much in depth.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it's not very interesting. It's very, very clearly Teoscar. Verdugo's he's rough, man. I think he's batting below the Mendoza line, and doesn't get on base much better and has no pop, no home runs. So there's just not much to like about Dougie.
I'm not sure why this is a conversation for another day. I'm just not sure why he's always garnered so much interest from MLB teams, honestly.
It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, but moving on. I think that one is the most lopsided position, though, of this entire matchup. If I had to pick one,
It
It's
depends on who's
actually,
playing center field for the
yeah.
Yankees. Yeah.
yeah, Kike and Aaron Judge. Again, this one not a lot of discussion. Aaron Judge potentially, a top two guy in the MLB right now. The other one will come up later, but incredibly good. And Kike is Kike. I mean, he pops off in the postseason. He'll have his moments, but Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. I'm not going to ever bet against him.
The question is Kike for sure going to be out in center field the whole time? Because Tommy Edman can play some center field and he's been hot. I think we're going to see some, if see some Miggy at short, some Tom at center field. This is what I love about the Dodgers lineup is they have the most flexible, uh, defensive rotation in baseball, and I think that helps them. But it also can hurt them when you're looking at them from this perspective of like a position by position matchup. Either way, it's Aaron Judge by a mile. He is the best hitter in baseball.
Yeah, I think just about anybody besides Freeman and probably Teoscar could probably play any position on defense for the Dodgers. But
Hey,
um, looking at Judge, he's had a sluggish postseason, and that's not something that's necessarily new to him. It's happened in the past as well, but he's never been on, the stage like this, Yankees Dodgers World Series. I could see him, just locking in and turning into the Judge of the regular season that we saw. Um, Honestly, if you're asking me to combine or compare postseason Kike to postseason Judge this year, it'd be a pretty tight race. But overall, I'd have to trust Judge more to come up clutch, even though Kike Hernandez does turn into his alter ego in the postseason.
Postseason Kike really does need to be studied.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah. Moving on to the last fielding position that we've got here, it is projected to be Mookie Betts and Juan Soto. Obviously, Mookie, as we've mentioned, is able to move around, so there's no telling who will consistently be out there. I would imagine he gets probably at least 2 games out and right, but with how they've both been playing, it's tough because Mookie is at a 300 average. Juan is at a 333. 8 to 12 RBIs, but then you go to 3 to 2 or 4 home runs. It is really neck and neck, and I think that the only reason I'm going to lean Soto is because we know he's going to be out there for all 7 potential games, whereas Mookie is going to potentially move around some.
I would be I would be very surprised if we see Mookie play anywhere else besides right field. He's been stuck out there for the majority of the second half of the season. And I see why, since he's hitting so well, Dave Roberts would risk throwing anything off with him. I just don't think it's worth the risk. Definitely not impossible, especially to throw a curveball to the Yankees and just say like, "Oh, hey, Mookie's playing second right now. How's that make you feel?" I mean, it's definitely a possibility, but I'm expecting it not to happen. I'm gonna go Juan Soto either way, though. I just got a feeling Juan Soto's been a beast in the playoffs so far. He's been a beast in the playoffs in his career, and the Dodgers pitching throws a lot of four-seam fastballs, and Juan Soto hits a four-seam fastball as well as anybody in the major leagues.
Yeah, I was thinking about leaning Mookie Betts due to the fact that he is a Gold Glove defender in right field and Juan Soto not quite at that level defensively. Um, but then I thought about, at the plate, okay, they're both elite hitters, but you look at the matchups, and I agree with you, Austin, that Dodgers pitchers don't really have the arsenal that gives Juan Soto problems. There are a lot of flame-throwing righties that throw, you know, sweepers, sliders down and in, two lefties. And like you said, Juan Soto can hit a fastball. Juan Soto mainly struggles against changeups that break down and away from him. The Dodgers starting rotation, the bullpen aren't really built for that. They're more breaking ball, fastball type of guys, a lot of righties. So I think that Juan Soto is going to run into a few of them here in the World Series. And I'll talk about him a little bit later too. So Juan Soto.
And then now DH, we've got Juan Carlos Stanton and Shohei Ohtani, which, if you had asked me at the beginning of last week, I would have said Shohei without a question. But Juan Carlo made it gives me a reason to think. I mean, Billy mentioned it before whenever we were doing our ALCS preview. Hey, this is a guy that can come out and win, series MVP. And sure enough, he did and had a monster series against the Guardians. They're doing it. Even with that, and with Stanton probably being a little bit more consistent throughout this postseason than Shohei has, I think Shohei has so much more upside in terms of what he's going to be able to do. It's hard to bet against him in any situation. I don't know. I can't bring myself to bet against Shohei at DH.
I see what you did there with the bet against Shohei. That's clever.
Thank you, sir.
Um, no, I think it's Shohei. Stanton is an absolute monster so far, but uh, just everything in my body and soul tells me to just take Shohei to win the MVP of this World Series. Like it screams it. Uh, so I got to follow my instinct here and take Shohei.
Yeah, he's 18 for his last 23 with runners on in scoring position. I mean, if that doesn't, just boost your value, I don't know what does. And for as many home runs as Stanton can hit, Shohei can hit him just as many. And Shohei can actually do stuff on the base paths as well and provide that value. Which when you look at DHs, most of them do not do. So to have that combination of, getting on base and then being a threat on the bases as well, so being able to score first to home, go to first to third, second to home, whatever it is, um, I think that's going to prove valuable. So Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. As long as he can get his average with nobody on up, I think he'll be all right.
All right, on to the starting pitching.
Yes.
The first two the first two games are pretty well known what they're going to be. Game one's already announced: Garrett Cole versus Jack Flaherty. I mean, Jack Flaherty's great and all, but Garrett Cole's a beast. I mean, advantage Yankees game one. Game two is when it starts to get interesting. You've got Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Carlos Rodon. And it depends on what version of Carlos Rodon we get, because there's two versions of him, and one of them is a beast and the other one is a bust. I'm hoping we see some vintage prime Rodon. He's shown some pretty good metrics in his starts recently, so I think he's kind of finding his rhythm, and I think he'll be able to do some damage and pitch a really good game. Yamamoto is also a very similar player, though, from what we've seen. So this one I'm calling a toss-up. I'm going to give no advantage to either team for this one. When you get into your third and your fourth starters, we're going to see Walker Buehler definitely at some point for the Dodgers. I would expect him to be their game three guy. Game four, likely to see a bullpen game. The Dodgers have been using bullpen games throughout the entire postseason. They are pretty good at it. They have had some success with those. But I do like whoever the Yankees line up to go against them, because obviously a bullpen game is just all it takes is one guy out of your bullpen to not be on that day and to get hit big. Versus, the Yankees are going to have Clark Schmidt and Luis Heel, who both are really solid. I don't love Schmidt's match with the Dodgers. He throws a lot of sinkers, and they're very run of the mill basic sinker. It's not like some demon, crazy, wicked sinker. It's just a very solid, average sinker. And the Dodgers are actually the best team in baseball at hitting sinkers. So I am a little worried about the Clark Schmidt start. If he's going up against Walker Buehler, I'll take Buehler all day, no question. And then I'll take Luis Heel to match up against the bullpen, and I will take Heel over the bullpen. Slight lean for the Yankees overall in terms of their startation to me.
Yeah, I think having that number four guy that can go out there and more or less outside of your major concerns that you've got, Austin, be a consistent guy. Only having three is definitely going to be tough for the Dodgers. It puts a lot more strain on like Flaherty and Yamamoto, they're going to have to come back, probably a game quicker in order to keep the Dodgers competitive. But then again, once you get to their bullpen, which we'll go on about in a little bit, you start to see a bit of a different story. I do think that as it stands, just looking at starting pitchers, the Yankees do have an edge, and I think Garrett Cole is the majority of that himself. I think the others can potentially be a wash.
Yeah, in the end, I think I have to lean Yankees here. I think the depth, along with just the quality of starters that you have, you look at Bueller and Yamamoto, both have struggled to really go deep into a ball game this postseason. And I think that's going to really affect your bullpen when you're relying on a bullpen game at some point. Leaves that unit pretty susceptible to running out of gas down the stretch. Also, the more you see guys, the more you can pick up on tendencies and whatnot. So, exposing your bullpen to the Yankees for a full game and then, having to run them 6 innings, 5 innings, whatever it may be, in some of the other games, then they can just run out of gas. Yankees can pick up on their stuff, see them a little better, and make the adjustments they need to really, make it hurt for the Dodgers. And so I would lean New York here when looking at the starting rotation.
Bullpen, two very different bullpens. The Yankees have a bunch of weird looks coming at you, actually. Uh, and I think this is different than the Yankees that we've always, or that we remember of late, I guess. They've got Tim Hill, sidearm lefty, Tommy Kahnle, who has thrown a record-breaking amount of changes in a row. Like he has not on a single pitch besides a changeup this postseason, I don't think. I think it might have ended, but he went on a crazy run of just changeups. And that's actually a pitch the Dodgers don't hit well. So I'm looking for him to have some big usage. Luke Weaver has emerged as one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. He's their closer now. Him and Clay Holmes have kind of swapped duties for the most part, with Clay Holmes more of being a setup or a big leverage earlier in the game. I saw him in the sixth or something the other day. It was a high leverage spot, so it makes sense to bring him in. But uh, I really love when in the postseason when bullpens get used early. It's like fourth inning, bases loaded. Screw it, we're bringing in our big gun, our setup guy who usually throws the eighth. Let him try and get 2 outs here in the fourth, like as well. It's a fun brand of baseball when every game is a must win. And I like the Yankees on that end, but I have to talk about the Dodgers because the Dodgers have some studs. Just from and they also have a couple weird looks. Brent Honeywell is an X factor in this, only screwballer in baseball. If you don't count what Devin Williams calls his changeup a screwball, which definitely could be considered that, but a true screwball from Honeywell. He might start their bullpen game. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him get a start on their bullpen game or at least throw several innings. So he's a funky look. But then other than that, you've got the flamethrower and Michael Kopech. Blake Trinan, who might have the nastiest lateral moving stuff in all of baseball. His sweeper and his sinker both break 20 plus inches in opposite directions. So if you're guessing up there, you're pretty much screwed. And then Evan Phillips, who has been a quality reliever in the Dodgers bullpen for a while now. Those are their big horses. Compared to the Yankees horses, I think I like the overall stuff for the Dodgers slightly more, but I think the Yankees match up well and have that sort of quirkiness about them that I just have a feeling is going to give the Dodgers some trouble. So I'm going to give a slight advantage Yankees here.
Okay. Uh, Overall, outside of, this group running out of gas, I think that the Dodgers have, you know, kind of like you said, more horses in the stable. Blake Trinan, disgusting. Evan Phillips, gas. Michael Kopech, gas. Daniel Hudson, really good out of the bullpen. Alex Vesia. They've thrown 49 innings in the post. So they've, got their legs under them, and these guys have been here before. Um, I just think that, the reliance on the Dodgers bullpen is not something of chance necessarily. Um, Dave Roberts is comfortable calling any of those guys out at any given moment. And not to say that Aaron Boone isn't with those guys they've got, Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver. I just have more trust in the Dodgers bullpen. I think they can perform a little better, even though I think that overall the matchups might not be the best for them. But I think that they will, end up finding ways out of jams and just doing their thing, really. I mean, against their main guys, opponents in the postseason right now have a 450 OPS against them. So they're not hitting the ball hard and they're, keeping guys off base. So I give the advantage to the Dodgers right here.
I'm also leaning Dodgers, and a big part of that is we've seen how effective this, starting rotation and then going into the bullpen has been already in this postseason. They have already set a record by going 33 consecutive innings scoreless. So just incredible stuff that they've been able to show, and they do have more guys that you can consistently count on than what the Yankees do. So it's less a matter of like, yes, the Yankees have looks that will be able to confuse anybody, but the Dodgers just have the ability to stay in there and okay, well, Blake's not doing great tonight, so we can throw Kopech in, or Honeywell is struggling a little bit, so we can bring in Brazier. So like you've got the options more so with the Dodgers. I feel like than you do with what the Yankees are rocking with.
All right. So, taking that all into consideration, uh, the Dodgers are the home team in game one. They have the home field advantage for the 7 game series. I think that also plays a part. Who do you have winning, and who is your World Series MVP?
All right, I'll go first. Um, so I saw this is the most common matchup in postseason history. 11 matchups in the World Series combined. Um, 8 of the 11 have gone to the Yankees. That means, that's worthless now, but they've met a lot of times in the World Series. This is a historic matchup. Overall, both teams get on base very well. Um, they draw a lot of walks, they get on base, and both staffs, can be susceptible to walks at certain points. When you look at the entirety of the game, base running, I think the Dodgers have the edge. Defense, I think with the matchups and the different units they can deploy, the Dodgers have the edge. Um, so then it all comes down to which offense I think can really perform better. In the end, I think the star power on both teams is insane. But with the depth that the Dodgers have, and if one guy's slumping, they can just plug another guy in and he can pick up the slack. I think I have to lean Dodgers here. I'm really concerned about the trio of Wells, Verdugo, and Chisholm in the World Series. I think that can be a big hole in the Yankees lineup. And say one guy like Gavin Lux isn't hitting in the Dodgers lineup. Here you go. Here's Tommy Edman. Or here you go. Here's Kike Hernandez. So they can just change things up so much. And I think that overall the offense is going to be a little more productive than the Yankees. So I will say Dodgers, and since the starting pitching depth is a question, I will say this goes 7, and I'll give the advantage to the Dodgers here. World Series MVP, it's got to be Shohei Ohtani. He's my pick.
Yeah. Uh, I also advantage Dodgers, and it is because out like you said, Billy, outside of the big three that the Yankees have in Soto, Stanton, and Judge, Rizzo is the only other one, and that's just if he stays hot and stays healthy. Outside of him, it would take a couple of people turning around, but then with the Dodgers, I mean, you can go through. All right, we've got Mookie, we've got Edmund, we got Otani, Hernandez can turn it up. Max Muncy has been able to keep postseason. Kike, Freddie, if he starts, I mean, you've just got name after name after name of big talent and guys that have done it consistently in this kind of situation, it's hard to bet against them. I am not going to go with Shohei though. I think I am going to go Mookie Betts. I just think that he's been hot, leading the team in home runs and RBIs in the postseason. I see no reason why that can't continue. So give me Mookie, give me the Dodgers, give me 7 games.
How much does it pain you to say I pick Mookie Betts as the Dodgers World Series MVP?
I've been crying about it for 6 years. Every time I see him wearing blue, it hurts just a little bit more. It's like death by a million paper cuts at this point. But I think being a Browns fan has hurt me so much worse.
It's so bad.
It's awful.
I lean opposite of you guys. I have the Yankees. I think the Yankees are going to win this. I will do a 7 game series for my prediction, and I'm gonna throw a bit of a curveball out there for my MVP. This has nothing to do with where he went to college, go Knowles, but he is a fantastic closer. He's going to pitch a lot of innings. He's going to get a couple uh, multi-inning saves, which are dope. That's Luke Weaver. He has really burst onto the scene, and I think he's going to give the Dodgers some fits. So I think he's going to come in some really close games in the 8th inning, get some 5-out saves, and yeah, enough for a relief pitcher to win MVP. I think we've seen it before, so it's not impossible. And that's my pick.
I was thinking because I kept going back and forth. If I had picked the Yankees, I think I was going to go with Cole as my MVP.
Yeah, it makes sense. If the Yankees win, it's going to be on the back of like really good pitching, or Juan Soto is going to just go absolutely nuclear. Those are like the two options.
Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. We will unfortunately be cutting off that segment there. For those of you listening to the podcast, though, we are about to get into some football. So head on over to us from the Box Score YouTube channel. We are the Triicky Takes podcast, and you can catch all of our thoughts about this upcoming slate of games here on the show. So we will see you. Thanks for tuning in. And now, for you podcast listeners, we'll take a quick break and get into some football.